entertainment reporter and LA resident. He is a Spencer Pratt supporter, was inside the election watch party last night. He's the host of Hot Mics with Billy Bush. And Billy, welcome. I want to start actually by playing this montage of some of what voters are saying out there. Let's watch.
I do like his approach for the homelessness. As a person who used to be homeless myself, I was able to change my life, 10 years sober.
Want to see a change, that's all. Not the reality TV star, never held a job kind of change.
He's a joke. I didn't like him back in the day when we watched him on TV, and I don't like him now.
What do you think about Pratt's unconventional approach?
I love it. He's another Trump.
Yeah, that's a woman who's tired of seeing the same old stuff.
I mean, you can hear the mixed bag there, Billy. And I know you've gotten involved in this. It's something you feel passionate about. What's your gut after last night?
Well, look, Martha, I mean, 3 months ago, I couldn't imagine, that this would be happening here for real. And it is. It's very much for real. I think I look at one of the things one of the people said in that montage, and you see the guy, I didn't like him then, I don't like him now, it's a reality. There's this idea. We like to put people in boxes, you know what I mean? You're like, Billy Bush is this, so-and-so is this. But it makes you feel safer or better about yourself that you can stick somebody in a box. I watch people, we like to embrace a world where people can evolve. And I always use the example of Jimmy Kimmel, who is up there. He was a sophomoric, fratty, stunts on the streets, doing things that would be cancelable today, back in the day. And now he's a liberal bastion of the elite media, a step Peabody winner, he was allowed to do that. Why can't Spencer Pratt become a father of two? 42-year-old guy, responsible guy who saw what was happening in his city after his home burned down, did the homework, dug through the files, did some investigation. He's no question he's got the magnetism. He's got the communication ability. He understands social media, how to drive a message. And now you've got, I watched him last night at this party, Martha, and I don't see the guy he used to be that a lot of these people, critics, want him to keep being. I see a responsible and serious guy. My conversations with him are nothing like the ones I used to have when I was running around for Access Hollywood and he was on the hills.
Yeah, I mean, I know he's a USC graduate, political science major. There's a lot to all of us, as you say. It's not just sort of one look. I'm very curious about what Tom Steyer's, put millions into this again, right? And you talk about the natural candidate ability of Spencer Pratt. It appears Tom Steyer is missing that gene because he's not a natural candidate and he doesn't go over well. He's spent hundreds of millions of dollars. What does this say about the power or lack thereof of sort of tech giants in California?
Well, I mean, Tom Steyer's his last move, his last big expression before before the votes get tallied is, to go out and speak on behalf of transgender athletes. I mean, great, Tom. I'm not sure that's really going to resonate right now. What you're seeing in California at large, and in LA, it's incredible. But across the state, when you look at a map, it looks like if you wince, close your eyes and you just wince a little bit at a map, it's looks like a red state, but it's so aggressive from Sacramento down through San Fran to LA to San Diego, so blue that it's known famously as a blue state, but not to the eye. People, the fact that there's so much movement and turnout was low, but the Republican vote for Steve Hilton came out 15% larger than it has, outperformed. Democrats underperformed. They're not excited. They're not excited about what they got on their hands either. They really aren't. And so I think what you're seeing is like is California in play for an actual change? Might be. Certainly is in Los Angeles, because I don't think Karen Bass will have any idea what to do with Spencer when it's one-on-one.
Yeah,
I don't.
I mean, it's interesting that people talk about his entertainment background, but sometimes people who are politicians for years and years and years aren't super great at getting stuff done. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens here. Billy, thank you. It's great to have you with us again. And we're going to wait a few weeks and see how things turn out. Thank you, my friend. Good to see you.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.